The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
Let's circle up, folks, because it's time for the Virginia Wrestling Roundup, a show by the Virginia Wrestling Association. The Virginia Wrestling Roundup is also brought to you by Cliff Keen Athletic, built for life. Get more information on Cliff Keen products by going to matttalkonline.com/Cliff Keen. I'm Jason Bryant, a proud Virginia native, and each month we'll talk about relevant events and topics as it relates to the landscape of VWR and the wrestling community in the state of Virginia at large. As always, you can find out all you need to know about VWR by going to virginiawrestling.com. Episode 14 of the Virginia Wrestling Roundup. I wish I could be a beast like John Borst. But anyway, my name is Jason Bryant. Today joining us is Executive Director Nathan Coburn and our good friend whose son just celebrated his 18th birthday. It's Mr. Bryan Hazard. Bryan Hazard, your son is 18. You've got to feel like an old man.
I am an old man. I'm a very old man. I always think of myself as 27, and then all of a sudden I have an 18-year-old, and I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Funny how you and I have this weird association with the age 27. We won't even go there, but anyway, Mr. Hazard, it's we didn't have a chance to have your dulcet tones on last episode because we were introducing the wonderful world of Virginia wrestling and those on the Matt Talk Podcast Network to Mr. Coburn. But let's just get your basically thoughts on how he's doing so far. I mean, one plus that he's got is when you look at his name on a piece of paper, you're not going to mispronounce it. So he's got that over Andrew. But how is the young chap done in his first couple months on the gig in the eyes of the Hazard?
You know, he's doing a nice job. He came in at the toughest time. His first gig was Fargo. When you get to Fargo, it can be pretty daggum stressful. But you know, he's around. He's really working the clubs. He's getting in front of people. He's got a great presence about him. We played golf the other day. He got a hole-in-one at the George Mason University golf tournament. Unfortunately, it wasn't a hole where you won a car, or you could have had that for his gig. But he's doing a really nice job, and it's good to have some young blood. Andrew was fantastic. And, you know, anytime there's change, it's tough, but his youth is definitely a plus, and his professionalism as well. So we like having him.
Wait. Hole in one for real? Is Brian making this up, or did you actually get a hole in one?
Oh man, it's the truth. Hole number 3, Bull Run.
Yep.
Did miss out on getting a motorcycle with it though, and that would have helped with gas. But it's all good.
And let me get this straight. This was an actual golf. This wasn't one of those things that had the windmill and like Fozzie Bear going waka waka waka. As you know.
No, real hole.
Nah, man, 148 yards out. Had my 7-iron.
Yeah, we were like, hey, that's a good shot. And we walked up to the green, and we didn't see the ball, and it was like, oh, it's in the hole. So cool. I'd never seen one before.
Oh, it's in the hole. It's in the hole. I'm gonna edit this in and put some Caddyshack lines in here. No, I'm actually not, because that would be too much work. But a couple things to talk about, as I alluded to in the open. John Borst is kind of beastly. He won the Super 32. Other placers, Killian Cardinale and Jeffrey Allen. We will talk a little bit about that event later on, but big events coming up on the weekend as we record this on October 25th. The 29th and 30th, VWR in action. We've got an elementary dual squad heading up to Malvern Prep in Pennsylvania, and we've got an event down at Ocean Lakes High School in Virginia Beach on October 29th, the VWR Fall Classic and Halloween Havoc, and then on the 30th in D.C. at St. John's College High School, the first annual Crush Cancer Multi-State Tournament. And Brian, this one's one that hits close to home, and for those that are in the Northern Virginia area, they already know this news, but for those around the state, Rick Jones, your longtime assistant and a longtime coach in the state of Virginia, as well as father to Brent and Wes and Matt, and so many, coach to so many wrestlers, and been on our VWR staff for a number of years. He's battling a tough bout of cancer right now. Why don't you just fill us in on what's going on with this and how we can help out Rick and the family?
Yeah, it's been a struggle. I've been coaching with Rick for 20 years. He's been, we've had our ups and our downs and our side to sides, but, really when it comes down to it, he's one of my closest friends. He's just an amazing man. And he, last year at NCAAs, he was having some trouble breathing. And so they went into the doctor and they thought he had collapsed the lung. And when they went into the lung, they found this large cell cancer in the lung. And since then it's morphed into a small cell into his spinal cord. And he was really struggling right now. He's at Johns Hopkins University Hospital, Bayview. And he needs our support, our prayers, our thoughts, our love, and he's really battling it, and it's been really tough for our state and especially for our program at Robinson. But I did put together a Facebook GoFundMe page for him to just offset some of the expenses. And it's amazing when you look at how much things cost, especially when it comes into the medical world. You think your insurance covers a lot of things until you look at your bill and you're like, holy mackerel. So between the travel and between the medical care and between just the logistical stuff that goes into, being a patient, he could use our help. So if you go to my Facebook page, it's on there, and we're trying to help his family as much as possible. Not necessarily any more than just the financial side, but they need our love too.
Yeah, we'll put the link to the GoFundMe page in the show notes for this episode. So if you go to vawa.madtalkonline.com/14, if you're listening to it on the web, or if you're listening on via the podcast app or Overcast or any of the other ones, you will have the link there for the GoFundMe page. Right now, about $6,800 has been raised. Bryan Hazard, you started this just 2 weeks ago, and already $6,800 in 2 weeks is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it isn't, and it just shows you he has a following, a love, and people know Rick, as a quirky guy, but I tell you what, he would give you the shirt off his back if you asked him. And the people who he's coached over the years love him like a father. And for all he's given, I just hope the folks will give back.
Yeah, you know what? I'm one of these people. I've given Rick guff over the years, and he's given it right back. And it's just one of those things like, we sit around and then we're like, oh, there's Rick. And it will all automatically devolve into let's tell funny Rick Jones stories. I mean, how many times, just when you look at Rick Jones in the corner, and when Brent, Matt, or any of his kids or anybody, mostly his kids, mainly, I noticed this more with Brent, because that was when Brent was in 8th grade, throwing people, on their heads is, it's like, he's not worried. But then Brent gets in these matches with like Bond and Matt Maciag, and it's just like, he's all tensed up. There's the jaw gets out, it looks, and he's just,
know that I have the face on right now.
So do I. I'm thinking, here's the thing.
That trademark grin.
You're listening to this, but you know exactly what we're talking about. So Rick Jones, we're sending our thoughts and prayers, and those out there, again, hit the GoFundMe page. I'll actually I'm going to write this down right now. Go to madtalkonline.com/Rick Jones. I'm going to make that a link that will go right to the GoFundMe page. So as long as I don't have another file named Rick Jones, and I won't have to go back and edit this, but if you're hearing this, that means I didn't edit it and it worked. But talk a little bit about that. And now as we move forward in talking about these events, Nathan, what's one thing you're discovering about the preseason world of folk style wrestling? Because back in the day, coming through, it was it was hit or miss. There was Short Pump, and there was maybe one. There was Great Bridge or Indian River actually had a really good tournament, and I'm not even sure if that was a USA event back in the day, but there would be just a few and far between. And this is before the Super 32 and the Delaware Fall Classic. What have you seen now from a state organization side that says, these fall preseason tournaments they're important for our kids. They're important for VAWA.
Well, the Fall Classic obviously is kind of a last chance effort for a lot of these kids to show what they're made of coming into the regular season, as far as where they are in the caliber of the state. And it really shows the effort they've put forth in the off season. Super 32, obviously one of the most nationally renowned and toughest tournaments. And all these more local tournaments are here just to really show the in-state rivalries and see how the kids are going to do with in-state foes.
And Hazard, having coached through all of this morphing of the monster tournament, the preseason tournament, I mean, how has the game changed a little bit for you getting your kids prepared when it's still football season? You don't actually have official high school practices yet, and it's just like, all right, club guys, let's go.
Yeah, I love to hate them. And I, driving 5 hours down to Greensboro, and I know that's a short distance compared to a lot of people who are there. It's just such just a hammer tournament. And, like we had 4 guys go, and all 4 of them wrestled guys who were ranked in the top 2 or 3 in the nation during the tournament. And you look and you're like, dang, man, it's so hard to place anyway. And they wrestle these guys. But as when you're there, you're like, this really sucks. I hate this. I hate this grind. I hate it. But the best part about these big tournaments is that preseason, it shows some of the weaknesses that wouldn't show up necessarily if you went to a local tournament where you just walk through and get your medal. You're seeing exactly what you're doing wrong. You're seeing your complete weaknesses. And before the season starts, you can set some different goals into what you really need to work on to be the best in the nation. And so, reflecting back on the tournament, it's awesome when you get to wrestle the number 1, number 2, number 3 kid in the nation, because you never get to see them during our high school season, really, unless you are wrestling in Ironman or Beast or Doc B out in California. And so it's a great ability to be able to go and compete there.
Yeah, and let's use Borscht as an example because he's at Sharando. And again, forgive me for not knowing what class they are because of the freaking 6-7 class system we got. And let's not go down that rabbit hole again.
Let's not get into that.
They were AA when I was in high school. So I would assume they're either 4A or 3A right now. So, and Sharando, not a power program in terms of going to the Ironman or the Beast. So this is an example where, if not, it's the folk style example of him going to Fargo. He gets the freestyle in Greco. Well, Super 32, he gets the folk style version of it, or at NHSCA's or nationals out in Iowa. So there are options, but this is opportunity for him not just to get his hands on ranked guys, but to be that ranked guy. And whereas, you've taken guys to the Beast, Brian, and,
right.
We've seen Virginia teams, Bill Swink's taking his teams all over the place. We've seen him, you're getting partials at the Ironman, you're getting partials at the Beast, but, for the small school guys, events like this, the preseason, this might be their only chance.
Absolutely. And
absolutely.
His ability to be able to go there and be in Stephen City and competing at Sharando, where maybe Coach Martin, who Pepper does a great job, but maybe they don't go to the biggest tournaments in the country. The fact that he's going to Fargo and being the runner-up, the fact that he's going to Super 32 and be the champ, the fact that he's going undefeated in NHSCA, how high is this guy's ceiling when he goes to college, when he really hasn't seen all those competition in his high school years? So it's unbelievable for me to watch him continue to rise, and to the point where he could really be the number 1 kid in the nation right now at 195 pounds out of Stevens City, Virginia. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's Stevens with a PH, by the way. And
right.
Believe it or not, it was not Sharando's first All-American out in Fargo. I'll give you $1 if you can tell me who the other one was. You cannot go through my Fargo Almanac and look it up first. That's not you can't hit pause on the record and go look it up.
No, I said you can keep your $1. I was thinking it's a heavyweight from back in the day, but I can't remember.
You are. It was Sean Reynolds.
Yes.
Cadet 242.
Yep.
Now I can't tell you the exact year. It might have been
98 or 99, I believe. Right?
It was probably 98.
Yeah.
Because he wrestled another Virginia guy in the placement matches. It was Chris Miller from Lafayette. And I'm not even looking this up right now. Scout's honor, even though I wasn't a scout. Anyway, so there's your Sharando reference. But also, you're bringing this up like, Killian Cardinal, at Patriot, and then Jeffrey Allen at Amherst. I mean, again, not power programs in the way you think of nationally ranked Christiansburg, nationally ranked Colonial Forge. Yes, even nationally ranked Robinson. I mean, you've got these schools. This is where these guys are on the map. It's Fargo, and it's this offseason work. So those parents out there wondering what's all this offseason stuff, this is why. It's not just the power programs. that are putting these kids in on the radar. This is Amherst County. This is Patriot. It wasn't even built when I was in high school. I mean,
Patriot no longer. He is at Brentsville High School now. Just to let you know.
That's you know what? I heard that. I did hear that.
And actually, his little brothers will go to Brentsville. He's actually there. I think half of his house is in the Patriot district, and half of his house is in the Brentsville district. So he decided to make a change.
The Brentsville district.
Yes, the BDD.
Yeah. So after I throw out that knowledge bomb of Sean Reynolds, I screw up Cardinals' new high school. Jeez. But hey, the same point can be made. I mean, this isn't 80s era single A with Thad Kiesnowski. This is now your new Brentsville district. So yeah, I'm trying to dig myself out of a hole with information I know about single A. I mentioned Jagger Rutledge on a podcast the other day, and Earl Smith had a conniption. You don't know anything about Jagger Rutledge. You didn't go to the single A, double A tournament and win by pen down there in Salem.
Oh, do I need to say it?
Go for it, as long as you don't say it at Nationals.
I will never say the pen fall at Nationals.
I was talking pen. The thing is, you haven't been to Salem. You don't know that Waylon Ryder. Wait a minute, Waylon Ryder. He went to Magna Vista, I think, which isn't even in school anymore. What about pen? Everybody that's double. I'm still calling it double A. Anybody that's now, double A or 4A and below knows exactly what I'm talking about. Also, moving on, because we could get in the weeds really quickly here, because I'm feeling this. Nathan and Hazard, we got this energy going today. We got it. I think it's because the Cubs and the Indians are in the World Series.
Pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for the Ricky Vaughn, Henry Rowengartner pitching matchup. You know who one of them is.
Did Charlie Sheen throw out the opening pitch?
I don't know, but I think the foul line's disappeared. But let's not go there.
He was lobbying for it.
Ricky, give him the heater.
Come on, Ricky. Give him the heater.
Wow, dang.
You really don't want to contend with me in karaoke, Mr. Coburn. Hazard can attest to this.
Yeah.
That's the Fargo, bud.
Yeah. Sashimi!
Yes, sashimi!
Anyway, as we move on, because again, we got to move on, because this is just going nowhere fast. People at home are like, what are we listening to? As we said, other things that have come and gone. Training day at UVA. Why don't we get a little rundown, a recap of that? Nathan, we'll just start with you on that one.
Oh man, it was awesome. I was really impressed with the kids, the coaches, the facility. I mean, UVA's facility has always been a great place. Garland knows how to run a great clinic there. And I mean, we actually capped off the official clinic at 60. I think we actually even had a couple kids over. I think we had 61, 62. And we had the best kids in all of Virginia there. It was an absolutely phenomenal clinic. I couldn't ask for a better showing. I couldn't ask for better technique. And also the kids' energy was just constantly going at it. At every session, they were just going as hard as they possibly could. And it was, I mean, honestly, it was just a really awesome experience. It was, I'm at a loss for words with how fortunate I am to have the kids I do in the state of Virginia. Such an energetic bunch. Everyone left there with the biggest smiles on their faces, even after, 5 hours of just grueling, going after it as hard as they possibly could. These kids, the kids that showed up, are definitely ready for this coming regular season. It gets me extremely excited for what's to come.
Now we'll go to a man who has a lot of thoughts on a lot of things. Bryan Hazard, your thoughts?
I love preseason training because you get great training, but the reason I love the way that VWR works, and I think it's been Team Virginia since I was in school, is that these kids have become so tight. They've become so close. Kids from all over the state meet up and they really put it on their calendars more than we're as VWR as an association are putting these things together. They're contacting each other and they're making it an event to be together as a team. And that's over the last couple of years in Fargo, and over the last couple of years, there's a reason why we win the awards that we win there, because these kids work together as a team and they really do see it as a program. As much as their high school programs, as much as their club programs, Team Virginia is one of their major programs that they're a part of. And I love to watch it. I love to watch the camaraderie and the way that they work together. That's really a tribute to the people who have worked so hard to do that over the last couple of years. So hats off to all the folks who put these events together.
And now up at George Mason, Kevin Steinhaus, an All-American from the University of Minnesota, came in. Coach Joe Russell brought him in for a clinic in Hazard. That's your alma mater, and Joe's right down the street from you there. I mean, what was that event like?
It was a great event. Unfortunately, the only weekend they could get it was Super 32 weekend, and also the Pennsylvania Coaches Clinic was the same weekend. And we just have so many events going on. But in talking to Joe, Kevin is a phenomenal character person and a great wrestling guy, and put on a great coaches clinic for the group of coaches that were there.
Now, moving on, there's another bit of news that we're actually getting one of our former VWA coaches to come back, as the news came over the summer that Averett in Danville is adding a Division III wrestling program, and they made an announcement recently that they are hiring Tommy Owen as their new head coach. So it looks like he was at Mason, then we lose him to SIU Edwardsville, and he's coming back. Mainly, I know his wife is from Franklin, not Franklin County, but Franklin. Right. There's a difference. And so, I can tell you this: happy wife, happy life. So we got Tommy Owen coming back. Hazard, how stoked are you for this? Because this is news to you. In our pre-show, that was news to me. I hadn't heard that yet. I've been under a rock somewhere. I'm actually texting him as we speak, which is kind of cool. I'm psyched for him because he's one of the good ones. He's got a lot of energy. He's got energy of all three of us together, and that's a lot of energy. And he got a lot of knowledge of the sport. And I know that he had wanted a head job. And so the fact that he's getting his opportunity to get a head job and start a program is pretty awesome. Yeah, Nathan, your experiences with Tommy, I mean, how excited do you have this guy back? And I'm pretty sure it's going to be just a matter of minutes before he's back in VAWA.
Yeah, when I saw the headline, I got super stoked because Tommy actually helped me out a lot in the off seasons when I was wrestling at ODU, and then coming back working out at Patriot Elite with Saeed, Vince, all the other guys, and Tommy helped me out a lot. I'm excited, hoping to don't want to say anything too quick, but he did a great job before at Fargo, so he'll definitely be on my radar, and very, very excited to have him here back in the great old Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yeah, you mentioned Patriot Elite. This is rare. I'm actually going to admit this because this is a non-denominational Virginia show. If you kind of catch my drift, even though we've got two Old Dominion Monarchs and one George Mason Patriot on here, but I was actually wearing my Patriot Elite hat the other day. It fits really well. Tom Carr gave that to me before he left to take the new coaching job out in McPherson, Kansas, at Central Christian College, and he'd also sent me a George Mason shirt. And the only reason an Old Dominion person would wear anything that says George Mason on it is because of the wrestling relationship. So you will not find me wearing anything George Mason outside of wrestling. Now, we go to breakfast, what happens? My youngest daughter spits up right on it immediately. So maybe it's something about that green, Hazard. I don't know if you can be around Ruby too much. She might just throw up on you.
Yeah, I wear a lot of black because it's slimming. And so I like the when they wear their black singlets as much as I like the green and gold. Yeah, but I do want to hang out with your daughter. She seems like a sweetheart.
Yeah, the singlet make me look fat? No, your face does.
Oh, yeah.
Moving forward, but I want to talk on this Averett thing a little bit because we've mentioned it with, we've had all sorts of the Division III growing. Nate Yetzer doing a great job. We've had members of Washington Elite on the coaching staff. Southern Virginia now fully Division III eligible. Hampton Sydney with the I mean, we went from W&L, the school everybody kind of forgot about in Virginia. Hey, you got some D1s. Oh, hey, we're down here. We're down here. D3. Hello. To now D3 is taking over in Virginia. I mean, this is providing so many more opportunities for our Virginia kids. And Brian, what have you seen? I mean, are your kids in your clubs and in the surrounding high schools, are they starting to look at these Division III opportunities? Because they're new to them. I mean, Division III wrestling, you have to go to Pennsylvania, New Jersey. You're getting, now they don't have to leave. I mean, granted, there's still, a lot of them are still private schools, but this is still something that the culture has to be understanding of Division III wrestling and how awesome it is.
And that's a tribute to the NWCA. They've really been putting their foot down and saying, let's get programs in these Division III schools. It helps with enrollment. And as a coach, I actually need to do a better job of making sure that our kids know that there are opportunities outside of the Division I wrestling. What do they say? There's less than 1% of kids move on to be a Division I athlete, especially in wrestling. And so really we need to sell these kids on there is an opportunity for you to compete at any level, and you can stay, within 3 hours of home in a Virginia school and be proud of, where you're from. So it's an exciting opportunity, and especially down that Route 29 or Route 81 corridor where we do have some nice programs, and what Southern Virginia is there as well now.
Yeah, that's one thing that Lexington Buena Vista has 3 college wrestling teams. VMI, WNL, in Southern Virginia. I mean, yikes. That's wild. Now, moving forward, I want to kind of still touch on the Division III thing, Nathan, as far as where I'm excited about the Division III angle is, and I talked with Gray Simons today for the Old Dominion show, and we were pointing out as a lot of Old Dominion alumni that are coaching high schools down in the southeastern portion of the state in Hampton Roads. And Brian, there's a lot of George Mason alumni that are out there coaching up in Northern Virginia, Virginia Tech alumni in Southwest Virginia. This is giving us a few things as far as the coaches go. One, it's giving us another generation of college trained wrestlers once they come through to be, ready to coach high school in our state. That's a great thing. And 2, Nathan, it's going to give us at VAWA an opportunity to get a lot of quality coaches to supplement our national team staff as well.
Absolutely. A lot of quality coaches, great facilities. The dilution as far as how many different opportunities we have throughout the state for kids to train at is just awesome. With the past year and a half, I mean, how many schools have been added now or have added wrestling in the state of Virginia? I mean, Averett and Southern Virginia were just the past year alone.
Yeah, Hampton Sydney's a new one as well. So
Hampton Sydney, of course, yes. I mean, the opportunities for kids in the state of Virginia and obviously outside that could come into these Division III schools, they are tremendous. And definitely, I mean, I'm so excited for what the state of Virginia has as far as wrestling is concerned, and I think we're going to have a lot of awesome opportunities coming in from outside of the state as well.
I'm still waiting for Virginia Wesleyan and Christopher Newport. Man, that'd be the home run right there.
I'm really confused why Christopher Newport hasn't added yet. Just in that Newport News area is such an awesome place, and their facilities are fantastic. So if we could get Christopher Newport and William & Mary back, and then get Virginia Wesleyan too, man, that'd be fantastic. But when you were talking about just the ability to get teachers out of these colleges to come back and have a wrestling background to coach. When you look at the number of high school coaches that come in and the attrition rate is so high, a lot of that's because they're not getting that experience in college. Typically, the person who wrestles in college has a deeper knowledge and a deeper passion for the sport. So when they do come back to coach, they do, or we do, retain them. And so just having these new colleges with wrestling in Virginia makes our coaching pool not that much bigger necessarily, but that much better, because you're going to have guys who are really going to have that passion in their gut to come back and coach.
Yeah, and one thing that I think we saw this in, actually, Omar McNeil posted this story that I wrote 16 years ago. He posted it on Facebook the other day, and it was a story that I wrote about Longwood when they cut their program. Oh. And it started bringing up all these memories. Ben Summerlin was on that team, and he was my roommate at Old Dominion for a couple of years. And, I'm going back through, and I'm thinking this resurrected that argument, or not that argument, but that discussion about when Longwood cut their program. That was a huge source of teachers and coaches within the state of Virginia. I mean, I think at one point, me and Lucia Grant were sitting at a tournament, Mike Newbern's Virginia Holiday Classic at the Pavilion one year, and we just started counting off the top of our heads high school coaches in the state at that tournament that went to Longwood. There was like 40 teams in this thing. I think with 25, we were counting it with the Longwood. And it was just crazy. I mean, Longwood dropping their program, and, that was a huge teacher's school too. I mean, a bunch of my friends went there that are teachers, but that crippled the pipeline. And now we're getting these programs back, Brian. This goes to your point. I mean, losing Longwood really stung, and now it's been 16 years. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
16 years. Jeez.
16 years.
I mean,
and I was thinking about that the other day because Longwood is one of the top physical education schools in the country and education in general, but their PE department is huge. And we did just lose a crop of really good teachers and coaches.
I mean, Aaron Bradley was an All-American there. I mean, he was coached at Hanover for a long time. I mean, John Tanaka at Powhatan, he wrestled there. I mean, it was just, it was a great Division II option. And I think this Division I pipe dream for that school, because I honestly kind of believe, not to just sit there and get off track and then berate Longwood, because, there are some great Longwood wrestling alums who enjoyed the time at the school. And, I mean, that there's a bad taste there if they lose it. But this is a problem with college athletics at a school like Longwood, which had its niche. It was a unique place for, a lot of people that wanted to be teachers and coaches. That was a perfect opportunity. Division II, you didn't have a huge travel, but now have you heard anything about them on the Division I level since they moved up? I'm a sports fan. And if it is, I think it's in like golf or something. They're a non-factor. They could have been a major player in Division II, and if they even were going to keep wrestling, they could have been in the CAA. They could have immediately had championship qualifiers. But I'm getting on I said I wasn't going to get on soapboxes tonight, but that's my Longwood soapbox. I mean, yeah, Nathan, we're just cutting you out of this discussion now.
y'all are aging me here with this whole Longwood thing.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. How old are you, Mr. Coburn?
I'm 23.
Okay, so you were 7 when they cut the
young and proud.
Jeez. I actually think I might have socks older than you. That might be the first time I've ever said that in my life.
In my first couple years of teaching, I
think you need to pick up some new socks then.
That's true. I got some wrestling T-shirts that my wife hasn't let me. Well, I'm not letting my wife get rid of, that are definitely from high school.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, well, I haven't worn them in much. They're in the.
I hope you didn't practice in them.
Dude, come on, me. I mean, I didn't practice long enough in my life to actually get them that worn out. Let's remember, my wrestling career is as long as a Post-it note. Anyway, as we got time here at the end of the show, we're just kind of breaking down some discussions since we last chatted. We've had Fargo, we've had all these things, and we got preseason events, we've got wrestle-offs going around. And Nathan, what are you looking forward to most in this high school and this college wrestling season? Let's just kind of get it off the VWR train for a little bit. Just being a wrestling fan, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, personally, at least from a personal standpoint, I'm very excited to have my first year as an assistant coach coming in, and especially being at Hayfield, I think we have a great program coming in this season. The college is going to obviously seeing Old Dominion. We have a really young team, but I think we got a pretty good shot at least placing top 20 here. Definitely excited to watch the wrestle-offs tomorrow. They'll be streaming that live. George Mason having their first home dual meet against Big Ten Indiana. That's going to be pretty awesome. Definitely excited to go there. And I'm just really excited to see how obviously the teams that I'm fans of, whether it be Old Dominion, George Mason, due to my ties with Patriot Elite, and also even going over to DC to see American Wrestle. I'm just really stoked to see what the state of Virginia has to offer, especially at the collegiate and high school level.
And Brian, he mentioned American and Teague Moore. I mean, that brought us back to the time when we were up at we need to get Teague Moore to do get some Permane brothers shipped in from Western Pennsylvania.
I think some corned beef and some, we need some French fries on a sandwich on some nice Italian bread. I could do a Permante's Brothers sandwich right now. If it was in front of me, I would definitely eat it.
I'd probably eat 2, and I'm more of the pastrami fan, and I'll have that with a side of holy blood sugar Batman. Now we talked a little bit about this, and Brian and I talked quite a bit offline and via text and goofy things. What are you looking forward to? I mean, we're still waiting for the folks at the NCAA in Indianapolis to let us know if we're going to have the opportunity to do Division I's again. But, I mean, outside of our own, self appreciation and patting ourselves on the back, what are you looking forward to as far as this high school and college wrestling season?
I more than just me or more than just you and I announcing, when you can watch these events live, it's fantastic. I'm going to have the ability to go and watch the Rutgers Princeton outdoor match. I think it's going to be great. We're going to do Grapple in the Garden. But really, as I get a little older, as a coach and as a fan, just the matchups that are so amazing. If you look at the rankings and how these things stack up throughout the year, I love to watch people moving in different places and growing up. And then you have the shockers that come out of nowhere. It's going to be fantastic. But the fact that, that we're still in a high school, and for our state tournament, bums me out a little bit. The fact that we're not at the Norfolk Scope and that the 4A is going to be at Churchland High School by themselves makes me sad. But I don't know. Maybe it'll be a comfort in being in the high school doing that state tournament again. I'm looking forward to Northern Virginia, watching some great wrestlers this year. Northern Virginia has really come on as one of the leaders in the sport with some great people, and just looking forward to watching this group of young men and young ladies come through is going to be fantastic. I just love wrestling. I don't know if I have any one particular thing. I just can't wait for the season to start to really watch it all happen.
I just want to circle back to that Division III thing that we were talking about earlier. I'm looking forward to having Bryan Hazard. If we can get, we can work the schmoozing and get you out to D3s with me in lacrosse because,
I got fingers crossed.
Hershey was a great time. I tell you what, if we have any Virginians that are out there that might be traveling through La Crosse, Wisconsin, or in that part of the country, or you're listening to the show and you live in the Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, northern Illinois region, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and La Crosse Center and the Division III championships, one of the most awesome experiences. And I understand that Ferrum is going to bid for the championships in the next 4-year cycle. So 19, 20, 21, 22, they're putting in a bid for, I believe, the Roanoke Civic Center, the Berglund Center down there. So that's one thing that if that happens, we're going to have to be, I know Vawa's going to be all over this. I'm going to be all over this, but I'm just kind of already looking ahead 3, 4, 5, 6 years for this Division III Nationals. Hopefully it comes to Virginia, but La Crosse is an awesome place for it. So I want to make this the homework lesson for our Virginia wrestling fans, and those that you follow your high school wrestling. That's great. I want you to kind of have a homework assignment to follow more college wrestling this year. Pick one of those Virginia Division III teams that you may not have an association with and follow them. So you've got your big schools that you can follow, whether it's your alma mater or whether it's, if you live in Fairfax, follow George Mason. If you live in Arlington, you can follow American. You're down at the beach, you follow Old Dominion, the Apprentice School. You've got your D1. Pick a D3 in the state, follow them, become a fan of that team, and then hopefully in a couple of years, if the D3 championships do roll in to Roanoke, Virginia, you've got a natural fan base built in right there. So that's my support #GrowWrestling topic of the day, and I'm out of breath. Whew.
Well, I'll follow that up. I had never really been a part of Division III until I announced the Division IIIs at Hershey 2 years ago, and I didn't really know what to expect. Number one, the wrestling is fantastic, just unbelievably fantastic. Number two, the camaraderie between the coaches is so much different, and the athletes are so much different than Division I. It is so much fun to watch. It is such a great show. The teams are not just the typical great teams every year. Every couple of years, you have these huge sways of teams that are very good. Besides your Wartburg and your Augsburg and a couple of others, there's so many teams that can jump up in that Division III ranks. And I recommend becoming a part of the Division III fan group because it's pretty awesome.
Nathan Coburn, any final words, things that we can look forward to coming up from VAWA before we call it a day here on the Virginia Wrestling Roundup?
Well, come on out to the Fall Classic this weekend. Also, send some thoughts and prayers and obviously donations if you have the opportunity to the amazing Rick Jones. And besides that, 2 up, 2 down, baby.
2 up, 2 down for Nathan Coburn, Bryan Hazard. I've been Jason Bryant. And again, hit that link up at mattalkonline.com/Rick Jones. That'll be your donation link right to Coach Hazard's GoFundMe page. And we'll see you next time. 2 up, 2 down. Woohoo!
show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.